Sorry. So let's begin by offering our respects to ISKCON founder Acharya and our preeminent Shiksha Guru, the Shiksha Guru of all of ISKCON, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
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 Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vande Ham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vidamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpataru Vyascha Kripa Sindhu Vya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, so on behalf of the Education Department of ISKCON Chile, I welcome all of you to our weekly Krishna book classes. Thank you very much for joining. We have with us here Aja, Divina, Dipti, Divya, Jolie, Kamala Nandini Mataji. Then we have Karuna, Makarena, Manav, Manju Nihalani, Meenakshi, N.C. Venkatchari, Priyanka Jha, Ritu Lalwani, Shailesh Latkar, Sheetal Latkar. Then we have Shivani, Shreya Kalaria. We have Soikat Chakravarti. Then we have Shri Radhe Hari Devidasi Mataji. We have Swapna Latkar and we have Wendy. Okay. Let me share my screen right away. We have a long chapter today. So today, by the mercy of Sri Guru and Sri Krishna, we will be seeing chapter number 29 of the Krishna book, titled The Rasa Dance Introduction. So we know that Krishna is Leela, Krishna is Leela Purushottam, and he performs very, very enchanting pastimes in order to attract the living entities to him, so that we develop the desire to go back to him, to go back home, back to Godhead, to go back to his abode. No. So therefore, each and every pastime, each and every Leela of Krishna is a great treasure, is a great treasure. But out of all these treasures of Krishna's pastimes, the Rasa Leela is the most prized jewel in that treasure box. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam has 335 chapters, but these 5 chapters of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which describe the Rasa dance, Sukadeva Goswami's dance, describing this Rasa Leela to Maharaj Parikshit in 5 chapters. So these 5 chapters are the most prized, they are the core, and they are the heart of all these 335 chapters of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this particular chapter, chapter 29, it actually marks the beginning of what is called as a Rasa Panchadhyaya. Pancha Adhyaya means 5 chapters on Rasa Leela. So it marks the beginning of the Rasa Panchadhyaya, where Sukadeva Goswami is describing the Rasa Leela to Maharaj Parikshit. Let us. Swapna, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So before we could begin this chapter, I would first like to mention that there are different kinds of gopis in Raj, and let's try to understand a little bit from our acharyas. Basically, they are divided into 2 broad categories, the Nitya Siddha Gopis and the Sadhana Siddha Gopis. Nitya Siddha Gopis are those gopis who are eternally perfect, Nitya Siddhas. They are eternally perfect. They are eternally on the level of spontaneous love for Krishna. So they are the Nitya Siddha Gopis. Sadhana Siddha Gopis are those who become perfect by practicing sadhana. They become perfect by practicing Bhakti Yoga. So it's not that they are always eternally perfect, and they become perfect by sadhana. So broadly, gopis are divided into 2 categories, Nitya Siddhas and Sadhana Siddhas. Then among the Nitya Siddha gopis, there are again 2 categories, Gopakanyas and Devakanyas. Gopakanyas are daughters of the cowherds, daughters who took birth from the wombs of the gopis of Vrindavan. So they are the Gopakanyas. And then we have Devakanyas, who are actually the daughters of the Devatas. And they are the partial expansions of the Nitya Siddha gopis. Then Sadhana Siddha gopis are again divided into 2 categories. Those who belong to special groups and those who do not belong to special groups. Now, what are these special groups? Those who belong to special groups again are divided into 2, the Rishi Charis and the Shruti Charis. Rishi Charis, as the word Rishi says, sages. So Rishi Charis are actually sages or Maharishis who actually saw Lord Ramachandra in the Dandakaranya forest. So in the Ram Leela, there were these sages who saw Lord Sri Ramachandra and they were attracted to him and they wanted to have Madhurya Ras with Lord Ram. But Lord Ram said that I'm already committed to having only one wife. So therefore, in the um, next avatar, when I come next, then your desires will be fulfilled. So some of these sadhana siddhas, they are rishicharis, those sages who had seen Lord Ramachandra. And some of them are Shruticharis, which means they are the Vedas personified. They are the Vedas personified. If the Vedas take a form, a person, then they are the Shruticharis. Okay. And then there are other sadhana siddhas who do not belong to any special groups, but they have become perfect by practicing bhakti yoga. Now, why am I mentioning all this before we even start the chapter is because we need to understand that the gopis are not ordinary women. They are all very, very highly elevated personalities. No, they are not ordinary women. And of course, we know Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. He is present everywhere. He is the most powerful and he also knows past, present, and future. So, Krishna is not an ordinary man and the gopis are not ordinary women. So, we should not compare these pastimes to the affairs of an ordinary boy and girl. We should understand that we are dealing with very highly elevated personalities. Now, we can start this chapter. This is the same information I put in the chart form. If it's easier for you like this, then you can refer to this or you can refer to this when I share the slides. Okay. Swapna, can you please read?
In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that the Rasa dance took place on the full moon night of the Sharat season. From the statements of previous chapters, it appears that the festival of Govardhan Puja was performed just after the dark moon night of the month of Kartika, and therefore the ceremony of Bharatra Dvitya was performed. Then the wrath of Indra was exhibited in the shape of torrents of rain and hailstones, and Lord Krishna held up Govardhan Hill for 7 days until the ninth day of the moon. Therefore, on the 10th day, the inhabitants of Vrindavan were talking amongst themselves about the wonderful activities of Krishna, and the next day, Ekadasi was observed by Nanda Maharaj. On the next day, Dwadasi, Nanda Maharaj went to take a bath in the Ganges and was arrested by one of the men of Varuna. And then he was released by Lord Krishna. Then Nanda Maharaj, along with the cowherd men, was shown the spiritual sky.
So this is basically a recap of what we have seen in the past few chapters in the Krishna book. And we also see in the beginning of the chapter the exact time when this Rasa dance took place. When did it take place?
When Krishna turns 8.
But that we didn't read in the first slide. What we read in the first slide, when did it take place?
On the full moon night of Sharat season.
On the full moon night of the Sharat season. Sharat season is what season in English? How do we know it better?
Autumn?
Autumn, yes. Autumn is a very nice, pleasant climate, no? One is in India, after a very rainy season, then we have autumn. So it's a transition phase. So it's a very pleasant atmosphere after the heavy rain, after the heavy monsoon. The sky is clear, temperature is moderate, the rains are receding. No, so Sharat season or the autumn season is very pleasant season, and it is the full moon night of the Sharat season. So we call this as Sharat Purnima. So Sharat Purnima is the most beautiful night of the year, actually, because the moon is visible very closely from the Earth planet. So therefore, it is considered to be the most beautiful night of the year. Okay. So from Shailesh's answer, I know that he reads a chapter before the class. Very nice. Let's continue reading.
In this way, the full moon night of the Sharat season came to an end. The full moon night of Ashwina is called Sharat Purnima. It appears from the statements of Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna had to wait another year for such a moon before enjoying the Rasa dance with the gopis. At the age of 7 years, he lifted Govardhan Hill. Therefore, the Rasa dance took place during his 8th year. From the Vedic literature, it appears that when a theatrical actor dances among many dancing girls, the group dance is called a Rasa dance. When Krishna saw the full moon night of the Sharad season decorated with various seasonal flowers, especially the Malika flowers, which are very fragrant, he remembered the gopis' prayers to the goddess Katyayani, wherein they prayed for Krishna to be their husband. He thought that the full moon night of the Sharad season was just suitable for a nice dance. So their desire to have Krishna as their husband would then be fulfilled.
So Krishna remembers how the gopis had performed the Katyayani Vrata. We have read this in detail in the previous classes. How for they did austerities, tapasya, and they prayed to goddess Katyayani, a form of Durga Devi, that they want to have Krishna as their husband. So how many gopis were there? How many gopis do you think were there in this Rasa Leela, Rasa dance, whose desire Krishna wants to fulfill? 10, 20, 100, 1,000?
108.
108? Okay. There were millions of gopis. Millions of gopis.
10,108.
No. There were millions of gopis. It's far beyond 10,108. The Acharyas explained that there were millions of gopis. So now Krishna wants to fulfill their desire. So what month is this? Is the month of Ashwin. So in the month of Ashwin, the full moon night is the day Krishna has chosen to fulfill the desires of the gopis. See, the Acharyas explain that Krishna considered time, place, and persons, for this Leela. So the time was right because it's Sharat Purnima. It's a beautiful night. The climate, as we discussed, how autumn is very pleasant season. So the time is very pleasant. Place is the forest of Vrindavan. So the place also is ideal. And persons, what kind of people now he's going to deal with are his topmost, purest of the pure devotees. So because of the apt time, place, and people, now Krishna has decided that this is the time to have this Rasa Leela. Let's continue.
The words used in this connection in Srimad Bhagavatam are Bhagwan Api. This means that although Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus has no desire that needs to be fulfilled, because he's always full with 6 opulences, he still wanted to enjoy the company of the gopis in the Rasa dance. The Bhagwan Api signifies that this dance is not like the ordinary dancing of young boys and young girls. The specific words used in Srimad Bhagavatam are Yoga Mayam Upasritaha, which means that this dancing with the gopis is on the platform of Yoga Maya and not Mahamaya. The dancing of the young boys and girls within the material world is in the kingdom of Mahamaya, or the external energy. The Rasa dance of Krishna with the gopis is on the platform of Yoga Maya. The difference between the platforms of Yoga Maya and Mahamaya is compared in the Chaitanya Charitamrita to the difference between gold and iron. From the viewpoint of metallurgy, gold and iron are both metals, but the quality is completely different. Similarly, although the Rasa dance and the Lord Krishna's association with the gopis appear like the ordinary mixing of young boys and girls, the quality is completely different. The difference is appreciated by the great Vaishnavas because they can understand the difference between the love of Krishna and lust.
So it appears, see here, although the Rasa dance and Lord Krishna's association with the gopis appear like the ordinary mixing of young boys and girls, the quality is completely different. So this is compared to the quality between gold and iron. Both are metals, but there is a vast difference in quality. So Krishna's Rasa dance with the gopis is on the platform of Yoga Maya, but that of the ordinary boys and girls is on the platform of Mahamaya. So we know how Yoga Maya or anything spiritual is transcendental. It is not to be compared with the cheap thrills of ordinary boys and girls. Another point here is we need to understand that Krishna has no desire. So one name of Krishna is that he's Atmaram. He's fully self-satisfied. He needs nothing external to satisfy himself. But still here, he wants to perform this Rasa Leela. Let's continue.
On the Mahamaya platform, dances take place on the basis of sense gratification. But when Krishna called the gopis by sounding his flute, they very hurriedly rushed towards the spot of the Rasa dance with the transcendental desire to satisfy Krishna. The author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, has explained that lust means sense gratification and love also means sense gratification, but for Krishna. In other words, when activities are enacted on the platform of personal sense gratification, they are called material activities. But when they are enacted for the satisfaction of Krishna, then they are spiritual activities. On any platform of activities, the principle of sense gratification is there. But on the spiritual platform, sense gratification is for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, whereas on the material platform, it is for the performer. For example, on the material platform, when a servant serves a master, he is trying to satisfy not the senses of his master, but rather his own senses. The servant would not serve the master if the payment stopped. That means that the servant engages himself in the service of the master just to satisfy his own senses. On the spiritual platform, however, the servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead serves Krishna without payment, and he continues his service in all conditions. That is the difference between Krishna consciousness and material consciousness.
So see, how is Krishna calling the gopis? By playing his flute, no? When Krishna played his flute, the gopis were so helplessly attracted to that sound vibration. That sound vibration was so intense that it forces them to just drop whatever they were doing and just move out of their homes. No, they were not able to wait even for 1 second. They just dropped whatever they were doing, and and it appeared that as though they were in a trance. No, just like how puppets are pulled by strings, the gopis were pulled by the sound of Krishna's flute vibration. And not only in Vraja, but actually Krishna's sound, Krishna's flute, the sound of Krishna's flute, it pierces through all the planets in the universe. It pierces the outer covering of the universe. It goes beyond the universe, and it even goes to the spiritual sky. Even the Lakshmis of Vaikuntha, they cannot resist themselves when Krishna plays his flute. Even the Lakshmi, even the goddess of fortune of Vaikuntha planets are getting attracted when Krishna plays the flute. So there is no woman in the three worlds who can maintain her chastity upon hearing the sound that is coming from Krishna's flute. There does not exist such a chaste woman who can resist that attraction. So Krishna's flute vibration is so powerful that it breaks the vows of all the chaste women. In fact, it is described that Krishna has 8 different tunes, and with the different tunes, he achieves different purposes. One tune is such that even the devatas like Brahma and Shiva, they break their meditation and they forget everything when they hear that particular tune. One particular tune makes the river Yamuna flow backward. One particular tune makes all the cows, all the animals stay still as though they are completely stunned. No, one tune attracts all the gopis. So like that, he has different. One tune brings in the autumn season. One tune brings in all the 6 seasons together. So like that, different tunes have different effects. Such is the power of Krishna's flute. Yeah, Shailesh, you have your hand raised.
Is there a message in all this? Is Krishna trying to convey something here that, you know, because because it is his influence through his flute that he's making them drop everything and come to him. So is there a message that he's trying to convey to us?
Yeah, there are different messages. We can discuss this at the end of the chapter. Can you reserve your question for the end of the chapter? What do you think?
Sure.
Okay. Please remind me at the end, okay? Okay, another important point here is, yeah, sense gratification. When we gratify our own senses, then it is lust. When we gratify the senses of Krishna, then it is love. When we do something for our own satisfaction, keeping ourselves in the center of our activities, then it is lust. But when we keep the Lord in the center of our activities, then it is love. So the activities are the same, but who is it that we are having in mind? No? For example, when we eat food, if we offer it to Krishna, then it is love for Krishna. If we are eating it to satisfy our own self without offering it to the Lord, then it is lust. No, I want to satisfy my own senses. So both deal with sense gratification, but one is our own sense gratification, and love means it is the sense gratification of Krishna. Let's continue.
As mentioned above, it appears that Krishna enjoyed the Rasa dance with the Gopis when he was 8 years old. At that time, many of the Gopis were married because in India, especially in those days, girls were married at a very young age, early age. There are even many instances of a girl's giving birth to a child at the age of 12. Under the circumstances, all the Gopis who wanted to have Krishna as their husband were already married. At the same time, they continued to hope that Krishna would be their husband. Their attitude towards Krishna was that of paramour love. Therefore, the loving affairs of Krishna with the gopis are called parakya rasa. The attitude of a married man who desires another wife or a wife who desires another husband is called parakya rasa.
So we'll discuss Parakya Rasa after this other slide. Let's continue.
Actually, Krishna is the husband of everyone because he is the supreme enjoyer. The gopis wanted Krishna to be their husband, but factually, there was no possibility of his marrying all the gopis. But because they had that natural tendency to accept Krishna as the supreme husband, the relationship between the gopis and Krishna is called the Parakya Rasa. This Parakya Rasa is ever existent in the Gokul Vrindavan, in the spiritual sky, where there is no possibility of the inebriety or which characterizes Parakya Rasa in the material world. In the material world, Parakya Rasa is abominable, whereas in the spiritual world, it is present in the super excellent relationship of Krishna and the gopis. There are many relationships with Krishna: master and servant, friend and friend, parent and son, and lover and beloved. Out of all these rasas, the Parakya Rasa is considered to be the topmost.
So see, these 5 rasas we have discussed previously. There are 5 principal rasas: Shantaras, Dasyaras, Sakhyaras, Vatsalyaras, Madhuraras. Neutrality, servitude, friendship, parental and conjugal. So as we proceed from Shantaras to Dasyaras, the intimacy increases. No? So a servant does not have the kind of intimacy that a friend has with a person. And a parent will have even more intimacy than a friend, because a parent knows how you were as a child and how you were, the parent just knows how you were previously, right? But a friend may not know you how you were previously. A friend knows you from, okay, how many ever years of friendship you have from that time onwards. Then conjugal, in the conjugal relationship, there is most intimacy, because we may be inappropriately dressed in front of our uh, partners, but we will not be inappropriately dressed in front of our parents. No, so greatest intimacy is in the Madhurya Ras. Now this Madhurya Ras is divided into 2: Swakya Ras and Parakya Ras. Swakya Ras is the conjugal relationship, but within a marriage. And Parakya Ras is the conjugal relationship outside of marriage. So actually, where there is more love, where there is more attraction, where there is more intimacy is in the Parakya Ras, not so much in the Swakya Ras, right? Because with time, then that the freshness and that love may not last so much in a married life, but definitely it lasts in relationships out of marriage, because in a relationship out of marriage, what happens is there is more attraction, there is more freshness, no, and there is more hankering to be with the lover. In a married relationship, there is no hankering to be with the lover, but when you are having a relationship outside, then there is hankering, and that intense longing, that intense hankering, that further enhances the relationship between the two. But of course, that does not mean that we are allowed to have relationships out of marriage. That is considered to be abominable. That is abominable in the material world. In the material plane, if one has such relationships, then it is a sinful activity, and one has to bear the karmic reactions for the same. But in the spiritual world, this Parakya Ras is the topmost Ras. It is the most intimate and most intense and the most loving relationship that one can have with Krishna. But this is in the spiritual world. One must not misunderstand, oh, Krishna is dancing with the gopis, I can also dance with my girlfriends. No. Here we have to take the karmic reaction. Krishna can do it. He is the supreme personality of Godhead. Gopis can do it. They are also highly exalted personalities. And this is all happening under the influence of Yoga Maya. No. But here in the material world, if one undertakes such activities, then it is under the influence of Maha Maya. So the difference between gold and iron. So we have to remember that. Let's continue.
This material world is the perverted reflection of the spiritual world. It is just like the reflection of a tree on a bank of a reservoir of water. The topmost part of the tree is seen as the lowest part. Similarly, Parakya Rasa, when pervertedly reflected in this material world, is most abominable. Therefore, when people imitate the Rasa dance of Krishna with the Gopis, they simply enjoy the perverted, abominable reflection of the transcendental Parakya Rasa. There is no possibility of enjoying this transcendental Parakya Rasa within the material world. It is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam that one should not imitate this Parakya Rasa even in dream or imagination. Those who do so drink the most deadly poison.
So, in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains how this material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So, see this photo. The spiritual world is compared to a tree. Actually, Krishna uses the example of a banyan tree in the 15th chapter. So, he says this banyan tree here is indicating the spiritual world, which is at the banks of a river. Now, because the river is there, obviously the reflection of the tree is going to be seen in the river, but that reflection is going to be inverted, no? So in that reflection, the roots are upward and the branches are down. But in the original tree, the roots are down and the branches are up. So this tree is inverted, no? Now, what you can enjoy in the original tree, you cannot enjoy in the reflection of that tree. I gave this example yesterday in my home program, that if for example there is a mango tree on the banks of the river, and one wants to enjoy the ripe juicy mangoes, no, and he sees the reflection, he sees the reflection of the mangoes, and he jumps into the water, and he's going in search of the mangoes because he wants to enjoy those mangoes. Now, no matter how much he tries and for how long he tries, how much effort he puts in, he is not going to enjoy the mangoes, because after all there are no mangoes over there. It's only a reflection of the mango. So he's never going to be able to enjoy those mangoes. No. In the same way here, what Srila Prabhupada is writing here is, there is no possibility of enjoying this transcendental Parakya Ras within the material world, because it is only a reflection. So one cannot enjoy the Ras as one can enjoy in Goloka. If one wants to enjoy that Ras, then one has to qualify oneself by engaging in bhakti, and then go to Goloka, where one can enjoy these transcendental loving pastimes with Krishna. It's not possible to enjoy it here in the material world. If we try to imitate, then we will only be increasing our sinful activities. It will only take us down. It will lead to our degradation. So this person, coming back to our example, this person who is searching and searching for the mangoes will continue searching fruitlessly. He's not going to get the results of his labor until someone walks up to him and tells him, "What are you looking for?" He says, "I'm looking for the mangoes. I want to enjoy the mangoes." And this person tells him, "But there are no mangoes. It's only a reflection. Look up here. Look up this tree. The real mangoes are here." And then the person realizes, he looks up and he realizes, oh, the real mangoes are there. And then he goes and gets those mangoes. So this person who comes by and informs us that the real mangoes are not here, but up there, is actually the spiritual master. No, the spiritual master makes us look upwards, makes us realize the higher truths, and then we can actually get the true happiness, ananda, no, unlimited happiness and bliss we can enjoy. Okay, let's continue.
When Krishna, the supreme enjoyer, desired to enjoy the company of the Gopis on that full moon night of the Sharad season, exactly at that very moment of the moon, the Lord of the Stars, appeared in the sky, displaying its most beautiful features. The moon night of the Sharad season is the most beautiful night in the year. In the Indian city of Agra in Uttar Pradesh province, there is a great monument called the Taj Mahal, which is a tomb made of first-class marble stone. During the night of the full moon of the Sharad season, many foreigners go to see the beautiful reflections of the moon on the tomb. This full moon night is celebrated even today for its beauty.
So Sharad Purnima, that night is so beautiful that they open the Taj Mahal at night for a special visit. No, usually one cannot visit in the night hours, but during this time, because at night is so beautiful, it is open for visit. Let's continue.
When the full moon rose in the east, it tinged everything with a reddish color. With the rising of the moon, the whole sky appeared smeared by red kumkuma. When a husband long separated from his wife returns home, he decorates the face of his wife with red kumkuma. This long expected moonrise of the Sharad season was thus smearing the eastern sky.
Let's continue.
The appearance of the moon increased Kṛṣṇa's desire to dance with the gopis. The forests were filled with fragrant flowers. The atmosphere was cooling and festive. When Lord Kṛṣṇa began to blow his flute, the gopis all over Vrindavan became enchanted. Their attraction to the vibration of the flute increased 1,000 times due to the rising full moon, the red horizon, the calm and cool atmosphere, and the blossoming flowers. All the gopis were by nature very much attracted to Krishna's beauty, and when they heard the vibration of his flute, they became apparently lustful. They became apparently lustful to satisfy the senses of Krishna.
Let's continue.
Immediately upon hearing the vibration of the flute, they all left their respective engagements and proceeded to the spot where Krishna was standing. While they ran very swiftly, the earrings swung back and forth. They all rushed toward the place called Vamshivata. Vamshivata. Okay. Some of them were engaged in milking cows, but they left their milking business half finished and immediately went to Krishna. One of them had just collected milk and put it in a milk pan on the stove to boil, but she did not care whether the milk overboiled and spilled. She immediately left to see Krishna. Some of them were breastfeeding their small babies, some were engaged in distributing food to the members of their families, but they left all such engagements and immediately rushed toward the spot where Krishna was playing his flute. Some were engaged in serving their husbands, and some were themselves engaged in eating, but caring neither to serve their husbands nor eat. They immediately left. Some of them wanted to decorate their faces with cosmetic ointments and to dress themselves very nicely before going to Krishna, but unfortunately, they could not finish their cosmetic decorations or put on their clothes in the right way because of their anxiety to meet Krishna immediately. Their faces were decorated hurriedly and very haphazardly finished. Some even put the lower part of their clothes on the upper part of their bodies and the upper part on their lower part.
So as we discussed, that's the sound emanating from Krishna's flute. It's so intense. It is so intense that the gopis just dropped whatever they were doing and they just rushed towards Krishna. So which is this place where they have gone to? Is known as Vamshi Vat. Even today, if you go to Vrindavan, you can visit Vamshi Vat, the exact spot where Krishna played the flute and he attracted all the gopis. See here, Vamshi Vat temple, Maharasthali. So there is a tree here to mark the exact spot where Krishna played his flute and he attracted the gopis. So Vamshi means flute and Vat means banyan tree. So there's a banyan tree there. And it is said that the great grandson of Krishna, Vrajanab, he planted this banyan tree in remembrance of the pastimes of Krishna, in remembrance of Krishna playing the flute to attract the gopis. But some 500 years ago, Yamuna flooded this place and took away this tree with her. Then a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit, Sri Madhu Pandit, he took one of these branches of the tree, he brought it back and again he planted the branch over here, and then that branch has transformed into this vast tree as you can see it today. So if you visit Vrindavan, you can go and visit this place called Vamshivat. Let's continue.
While all the gopis were hurriedly leaving their respective places, their husbands, brothers, and fathers were all struck with wonder to know where they were going. Being young girls, they were protected either by their husbands, elder brothers, or fathers. All their guardians forbade them to go to Krishna, but they disregarded them. When a person becomes attracted to Krishna and is in full Krishna consciousness, he does not care for any worldly duties, even though very urgent. Krishna consciousness is so powerful that it gives everyone relief from all material activities. Srila Goswami has written a very nice verse wherein one gopi advises another. My dear friend, if you desire to enjoy the company of material society, friendship, and love, then please do not go to see that smiling boy Govinda who is standing on the bank of Yamuna and playing his flute, his lips brightened by the beams of the full moonlight. Srila Rupa Goswami indirectly instructs that one who has been captivated by the beautiful smiling face of Krishna has lost all attraction for material enjoyments. This is the this is the test of advancement in Krishna consciousness. A person advancing in Krishna consciousness must lose interest in material activities and person sense gratification.
So some of these, not some, all of these gopis, where the family members try to restrict them, but they would not stay back. No, they were so drawn towards the flute that they just left. So there was no question of social norms. There was no question of feeling shy. No, everything was overwritten when Krishna played his flute. And see what Rupa Goswami is saying, that if you want to desire the company of material society, friendship and love, then do not go and see that smiling boy Govinda. Because once we approach Krishna, once we take to Krishna consciousness, even a little bit, even if we start off a little bit, then Krishna will not let us go. Krishna will not let us go. He will drag us to perfection. Somehow or the other, with his leelas, with his arrangements, he will definitely help us reach our destination. So once we take to Krishna, once we take the shelter of Krishna, then we will not be attracted to material enjoyment. It happens by default. It's only a natural transition that happens. No, we don't have to artificially try to overcome material attachments. It happens by default, but we have to be sincere. We cannot externally make a show of, oh yes, I am sincere, oh I know everything, I know how to chant, I know how to offer, I know how to do this, I know how to do that, I know the rules and regulations. Externally we may make a show, but if internally we are not sincere, if the change is not happening from the heart, then those material attachments will not go away. But if we are sincere, then it's only natural that the material attachments will go away. Let's continue.
Some of the gopis were factually detained from going to Krishna by their husbands and were locked up by force within their rooms. Being unable to go to Krishna, they began to meditate upon his transcendental form by closing their eyes. They already had the form of Krishna within their minds. They proved to be the greatest yogis, as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, as a person who is constantly thinking of Krishna within his heart with faith and love is considered to be the topmost of all yogis. Actually, a yogi concentrates his mind on the form of Lord Vishnu. That is real yoga. Krishna is the original form of all Vishnu tattvas. The gopis who could not go to Krishna personally, so they began to meditate on him as perfect yogis.
So some of the gopis were restrained by their husbands and they were not able to go. So it is described by the acharyas that these were actually the gopis who had children. The other gopis, they did not have any children. They did not have, although they were married, they did not have any contact with their husbands because of the potency of Yoga Maya. But some of these gopis, they had children. And who are these gopis who were restrained and who had children? But actually those Munichari gopis, no, the Munichari gopis who had met Lord Ram in the Dandakaranya forest and they wanted to enjoy with him. Those sages, those Munichari gopis, they were immediately elevated. Those sages were immediately elevated to the platform of spontaneous love, but they had not become completely free from all material contamination. There were still some residual left of material contamination in them. No, so therefore they were restrained. They were the gopis who were restrained and they were not able to go and see Krishna. But now, although they had some material contamination left, still Yoga Maya had arranged that they take birth from the wombs of the gopis and they become cowherd girls. But by associating with Srimati Radharani and by associating with other Nitya Siddha gopis, some of them did manifest the loving attraction for Krishna very soon. Some of them, as soon as they attained puberty, they attained the loving attraction for Krishna. Some of them attained it over a period of time, no, and some of them attained it after they attained direct association with Krishna. So like this, by associating with Srimati Radharani, by associating with other Nitya Siddha Gopis, by getting the direct association of Krishna, then their last traces of material contamination was removed. So it is described that some of these gopis who were restrained, even some of them eventually they were able to escape and leave. Some of them they were allowed to leave, or Yogamaya allowed them to leave for the Rasa dance after the initial set of gopis had gone. No, so they went behind the other Nitya Siddha gopis, who immediately rushed. After some time, when that material contamination was gone, then they went after them, behind them. Okay, and some of them were not able to go at all on that particular night, but on some other night then they were able to go. Then Yogamaya arranged that they can go for the Rasa dance. It was arranged on some other night. Now, how did they get purified? I already spoke, but when they were restrained by their husbands, then they underwent so much intense agony. No, they suffered so much agony that when they went through that agony caused their purification. See, when we undergo some problems, some suffering, and we undergo some pain, then that intense pain can also burn our karma. Not can, but does. It burns our karma. No. So the agony that these gopis suffered when they were restrained, that led to the purification of the last material contamination that they had. So this is the reason why some of them were restrained. And those who were restrained that night and couldn't go that night, but they went on some other night, then at that time they meditated on Krishna. They meditated on Krishna. And then in their meditation, Krishna appeared before them and they were able to embrace Krishna in their meditation. Let's continue.
In the conditioned stage of the living entities, there are two kinds of results of fruitive activities. The conditioned living entity who is constantly engaged in sinful activities has suffering as his result. And he who is engaged in pious activities has material enjoyment as a result. In either case, the material suffering or material enjoyment, the sufferer or the enjoyer is conditioned by material nature.
Let's continue.
The Gopi associates of Krishna who assembled in the place where Krishna was appearing were from different groups. Most of the Gopis were eternal companions of Krishna. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Ananda Chin Maya Rasa Pratibhavita Bhe. In the spiritual world, the associates of Krishna, especially the Gopis, are manifestations of the pleasure potency of Lord Krishna. They are expansions of Srimati Radharani. But when Krishna exhibits his transcendental pastimes within the material world, in some of the universes, not only by the eternal associates of Krishna, but also those who are being promoted to the status of this material world. So some of the gopis who join Krishna's pastimes within this material world are coming from the status of ordinary human beings. If they had been bound by fruitive action, they were fully freed from the reactions of karma by constant meditation on Krishna. Their severely painful yearnings caused by their not being able to see Krishna freed them from all sinful reactions, and their ecstasy of transcendental love for Krishna and his absence ended all the reactions to material pious activities. The conditioned soul is subjected to birth and death, either by pious or sinful activities. But the gopis who began to meditate on Krishna transcended both positions and became purified and thus elevated to the status of gopis already expanded by his pleasure potency. All the gopis who concentrated their minds on Krishna in the spirit of paramour love became fully purified of all the fruitive reactions of material nature. And some of them immediately gave up their material bodies, developed under the three modes of the material nature.
See, so this is what we discussed, no? That there are two kinds of gopis, which we mentioned at the beginning of the class. Where did we read that? See, when Krishna exhibits his transcendental pastimes within the material world in some of the universes, not only the eternal associates of Krishna come, but also those who are being promoted to that status from this material world. So eternal associates are the Nitya Siddhas, and those who are being promoted to that status from this material world are the Sadhana Siddhas, because they have done the sadhana and therefore they're getting this promotion. So some of the gopis who joined Krishna's pastimes within this material world were coming from the status of ordinary human beings. If they had been bound by fruitive action, they were fully freed from the reactions of karma by constant meditation on Krishna. Their severely painful yearnings caused by their not being able to see Krishna freed them from all sinful reactions. So this is what I said previously in the previous slide, how because they were yearning, that hankering, that agony caused them to be free from all sinful reactions. So because they had that last bit, that last trace of material contamination, therefore they were restrained from going to see Krishna. They didn't immediately go. Some of them went later, and some of them went out on another night after that contamination was removed. Let's continue.
Maharaj Parikshit heard Sukadev Goswami explain the situation of the gopis who assembled with Krishna in the Rasa dance. When he heard that some of the gopis, simply by concentrating on Krishna as their paramour, became freed from all contamination of material birth and death, he said, the gopis did not know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They accepted him as a beautiful boy and considered him to be their paramour. How is it possible for them to get freed from the material condition just by thinking of a paramour? One should consider here that Krishna and ordinary living beings are qualitatively one. The ordinary living beings, being part and parcel of Krishna, are also Brahman, but Krishna is the supreme, Parabrahman. The question is if it is possible for a devotee to get free from material contaminated stage simply by thinking of Krishna, then why should this not be possible for those who are also thinking of someone? If one is thinking of a husband or son, or if anyone at all is thinking of another living entity, then since all living entities are also Brahman, why are all those who thus think of others not free from the contaminated stage of material nature? This is a very intelligent question because there are always atheists imitating Krishna.
So see, Maharaj Parikshit is inquiring from Sukadeva Goswami. The gopis, by meditating on Krishna, they were able to remove their contamination. So they are thinking of Krishna, but they are actually thinking of their lover, of their paramour. So why is it that other living entities, by thinking of their own paramours, their own lovers, why is it that their contamination does not go? Or how is it that our contamination does not go, or the contamination of the jivas thinking of their lover does not go, but but the gopis, by thinking of their paramour, their contamination has gone. So this is the question that Maharaj Parikshit is asking Sukadeva Goswami. So the point here is, what the point that is being made here in this paragraph is, the ordinary living beings are Brahman. Yes, we are all spiritual. We are all parts and parcels of Krishna. We are all qualitatively equal to Krishna. But again, we should not remember the difference that the living entities are Brahman, but Krishna is Para Brahman. So we are qualitatively the same, but quantitatively there is a vast difference. Shailesh, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, in the previous slide, it is not clear whether all the gopis who are present there are living human beings or they and how many of them are representations of Radharani, or is there some other entities also that are there? Because as you described earlier, that there were not a few thousands but millions of gopis there. So who all is present there?
There are millions of them who are present there. Srimati Radharani is present. There cannot be no Rasa dance without Srimati Radharani. The principal gopis, the Ashta Sakhis, the 108 principal gopis, all these gopis are present there. Millions of them are present, including Srimati Radharani and the principal gopis. Okay? Let's continue.
In these days of Kali Yuga, there are many rascals who think themselves to be as good as Krishna and who cheat people into believing that thinking of them is as good as thinking of Lord Krishna. Maharaj Parikshit, apprehending the future dangerous condition of blind followers of demoniac imitators, therefore asked this question, and fortunately it is recorded in Srimad Bhagavatam to warn innocent people that thinking of an ordinary man and thinking of Krishna are not the same.
So why has Maharaj Parikshit asked this question? Actually, Maharaj Parikshit already knows the answer to this question. He already knows the difference between Krishna and the ordinary living entities. But he is asking this for the future generations because he knows that in the future generations, there will be many, many, many people who will want to imitate Krishna. The demoniac people who want to imitate Krishna and will try to engage in such nonsense activities because in the material world it is abominable and they will say that they're only following what Krishna did, no? So, for the sake of such people, therefore, Maharaj Parikshit is asking this question because he knows in Kali Yuga there will be many imitators, many imitators. And not only in the Kali Yuga there are imitators, actually, there was one imitator even during Krishna Leela. When Krishna was personally present on the planet, there was this king who said that he is Krishna. Krishna is personally present and at that time he is saying that he is Krishna. So therefore he is called as Paundraka, the false Vasudev. We will see this episode later in the Krishna book. It's there in our Krishna book. Let's continue.
Actually, even thinking of the demigods cannot compare with thinking of Krishna. It is born in the Vaishnava Tantra that one who puts Krishna, Narayan, or Krishna on the same level as the demigods is called Pasandi or rascal. On hearing this question from Maharaj Parikshit, Sukadev Goswami replied, "My dear king, your question is already answered even before this incident. Because Maharaj Parikshit wanted to clear up the situation, his spiritual master answered him very intelligently. Why are you again asking about the same subject matter which has already been explained to you? Why are you so forgetful? A spiritual master is always in the superior position, so he has a right to chastise his disciple in this way." Sukhdev Goswami knew that Maharaj Parikshit answered the question not for his own understanding, but as a warning to the future innocent people who might think others to be equal to Krishna.
Okay, let's continue.
Sukadev Goswami then reminded Parikshit Maharaj about the salvation of Shishupala. Shishupal was always envious of Krishna, and because of his envy, Krishna killed him. But since Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shishupal gains salvation simply by seeing him. If an envious person can get salvation simply by concentrating his mind on Krishna, then what to speak of the gopis who are so dear to Krishna and always think of him in love? There must be some difference between the enemies and the friends. If Krishna's enemies could get freed from the material contamination and become one with the Supreme, then certainly his dear friends like the gopis can achieve such freedom and much more.
So Sukadeva Goswami is answering Maharaj Parikshit's question by saying that even if the demons can get salvation by thinking about Krishna, if their material contamination can be wiped off by thinking about Krishna, how why is it not possible for the gopis to get over their material contamination simply by thinking about Krishna? So he gives the example of Shishupal. Shishupal always thought about Krishna, of course, not in a favorable way. He always thought about Krishna in an unfavorable way because he was always envious of Krishna. But eventually he was killed by Krishna, and because he was killed by Krishna, then he attained salvation. Everybody there in the Ratsuya sacrifice. So Shishupal was killed when Yudhishthira did the Ratsuya sacrifice. No? And at that time, everybody present in that Ratsuya sacrifice could see Shishupal's soul going inside the body of Krishna. So he attained salvation. Let's continue.
Mataji, can I ask you a question about the Shishupal going into the body of the God? Does that mean that he lost his eternity or something, that he would never be born again? Is that the kind of mukti he attained?
Lose eternity? No. A soul never loses its eternity. The soul is always eternal. But he attained salvation in the sense that he would not be born again.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Let's continue.
Besides that, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is called Rishikesha. Sukdev Goswami also said that Krishna is Rishikesha, the super soul. Whereas an ordinary human being is a conditioned soul covered by the material body, Krishna and Krishna's body are the same because he is Rishikesha. Any person making a distinction between Krishna and Krishna's body is fool number one. Krishna is Rishikesha and Adokshaja. These two particular words have been used by Sukadeva Goswami in this instance. Krishna is a super soul and Adokshaja is a supreme personality of Godhead transcendental to the material nature. Just to show favor to the ordinary living entities, out of his causeless mercy, he appears as he is. Unfortunately, foolish persons mistake him to be an ordinary person, and so they become eligible to go to hell.
So what two names of Krishna we can see in this paragraph?
Rishikesha and Adokshaja.
Rishikesha and Adokshaja. What does the name Rishikesha mean?
Super soul.
Rishikesha.
Is it with the hair? Something with the
Rishikesh means he is the master of the senses. So Krishna is the master of the senses. Therefore, we with our senses, we should engage in the service of Rishikesha because he is the master of all the senses. He is the master of our senses, your senses, everybody's senses. So therefore, with our senses, we have to serve Rishikesha. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is instructing Sri Rupa Goswami and he says, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktir Uchyate. Bhakti or devotional service means engaging all our senses in the services of the Lord. Rishikena, with our senses, Rishikesha Sevanam. We have to do seva for Rishikesha. And the other name of Krishna?
Adokshaja.
One who is beyond the
Adokshaja.
material senses.
He is beyond the range of the senses. We cannot understand. He is inconceivable. No, he is beyond the range of the senses. That is the name. That is what the name Adhokshaja means. You cannot understand Krishna. We cannot understand Krishna. Let's continue.
Sukdev Goswami continued to inform Maharaj Parikshit that Krishna is not an ordinary person, but rather the Supreme Personality of Godhead, imperishable, immeasurable, and without any material qualities, but full of all spiritual qualities. He appears in this material world out of his causeless mercy, and whenever he appears as he is, without change. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, but the Lord says that he appears by his spiritual potency. He does not appear under the control of the material potency. The material potency is under his control. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the material potency is working under his superintendence. It is also confirmed in the Brahma Samhita that the material potency known as Durga is acting like a shadow of the substance. The conclusion is that if one somehow or the other becomes attached to Krishna or attracted to him, either because of his qualities of beauty, opulence, fame, strength, renunciation, or knowledge, through affection or friendship, or even through lust, anger, or fear, then one's salvation and freedom from material contamination are assured.
See, that's why Krishna is sometimes referred to as Nirgun. No, Nirgun does not mean that he has no gun. It does not mean that he doesn't have any qualities. Nirgun means Krishna does not have any material qualities, but he does have spiritual qualities. Same thing with the word Nirakar, because it's very, very often people misquote it or misunderstand that word Nirakar. Nirakar does not mean that Krishna does not have a form. It means that Krishna does not have a material form, but he does have a spiritual form. Even when Krishna came to this planet, he did not have a material body. He had a fully spiritual body. So Nirgun Nirakar, when Krishna is referred to as Nirgun Nirakar, it means he does not have any material qualities and material body, but he does have spiritual qualities and spiritual body. Okay. Let's continue.
In the Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, the Lord states that one who is engaged in preaching Krishna consciousness is very dear to him. A preacher has to face many difficulties in his struggle to preach pure Krishna consciousness. Sometimes he has to suffer bodily injuries, and sometimes he has to meet death also. All this is taken as a great austerity on behalf of Krishna. Krishna, therefore, has said that such a preacher is very dear to him. If Krishna's enemies can expect salvation simply by concentrating their minds on him, then what to speak of persons who are so dear to Krishna? The conclusion should be that the salvation of those who are engaged in preaching Krishna consciousness in the world is guaranteed in all circumstances. But such preachers never care for salvation because factually, one who is engaged in Krishna consciousness, devotional service, has already achieved salvation. Sukadeva Goswami therefore assured King Parikshit that he should always rest assured that one who is attracted by Krishna attains liberation from material bondage because Krishna is the transcendental master of all mystic power.
What name of Krishna means that he's a master of all mystic powers? It starts with a Y. Yogeshwar, yes. And what name of Krishna means that he is a supreme master of all mystic powers?
Mahayogeshwar.
Mahayogeshwar, yes, very nice. So see here, in the Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter, Lord states that one who is engaged in preaching Krishna consciousness is very dear to him. So anybody who can preach, that person is very dear to Lord Shri Krishna. Krishna himself mentions this in the 18th chapter. In fact, he says that there is no servant who has been more dear to me than him, nor will there ever be. No, so when one preaches, then one immediately becomes very dear to Krishna. So what do we have to do to become a preacher? Do we have to become big Sanskrit scholars? Do we have to be able to do very difficult yoga postures? Do we have to do a lot of tapasya? We have to go and stand in the cold water. We have to stand under fire. We have to do all those things. No. All that we have to do is simply read and repeat. Hear from bona fide sources and repeat as it is. That's all. There is no extra drama is required. All that we have to do is we have to hear from bona fide sources, read the shastras written by bona fide sources, and simply repeat what is written without adding, without subtracting, without putting our own point of view, without any such extracurricular stuff. We can become preachers. See, in bhakti, it's very important that we have our bhakti sandwich complete. Now, what do we mean by bhakti sandwich? In a sandwich, you have something above and you have something below. So what is it that we have to have above in the bhakti sandwich is we need to have some senior devotee under whose guidance we can work, whom we can consult when we have doubts, who is going to guide us, who's going to chastise us when we go wrong, who's going to bring us back on track. Such authority we should accept without any ego coming in the way. Oh, why should I listen to such a person? No. So in a humble attitude, one should have someone above you, the spiritual master, other senior devotees, other sadhus, who will guide us, instruct us, chastise us, like that. And what do we have below in the bhakti sandwich? Somebody whom we are guiding, somebody whom we are mentoring, someone whom we are able to bring to Krishna consciousness. So if we have somebody like that, no, then our bhakti sandwich is complete. Then our bhakti sandwich is complete. If we are only receiving guidance, but we are not guiding somebody else, then it is incomplete. And at the same time, we only want to guide others, but I don't want to take instructions from any senior devotee, then again my bhakti sandwich is incomplete. So you must always make sure that your bhakti sandwich is complete. Let's continue.
What was in the middle of the sandwich? Bhakti?
Yeah, bhakti. Because a bhakti sandwich.
Yeah. All right. When all the gopis assembled, as described, before Krishna, he began to speak to them, welcoming them as well as discouraging them by word jugglery. Krishna is the supreme speaker. He is the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita. He can speak on the highest elevated subject on philosophy, politics, economics, everything. And he also spoke before the gopis, who were so dear to him. He wanted to enchant them by word jugglery, and thus he began to speak as follows. O ladies of Vrindavan, Krishna said, you are very fortunate and you are very dear to me. I'm very pleased that you have come here, and I hope everything is well in Vrindavan. Now, please order me. What can I do for you? What is the purpose of your coming here in the dead of the night? Kindly take your seats and let me know what I can do for you.
So Krishna has called all the gopis by playing the flute. And after they have arrived now, he is going to enchant them by word jugglery. See, Krishna, he never stands straight, no? He always stands in a bent way. So he does things also always in a bent way. Lord Ramachandra always stands straight. So his dealings are always very, very straightforward. But Krishna likes to attract people by his leelas, no? So he stands bent and his ways are also bent. So now he's enchanting them by word jugglery. And he's asking them, what can I do for you? Why have you come here? No? Let's see what he says next. Let's read.
The gopis had come to Krishna to enjoy his company, to dance with him, embrace him, and kiss him. And when Krishna began to receive them very officially, showing all kinds of etiquette, they were surprised. He was treating them like ordinary society women. Therefore, they began to smile among themselves, and although they very eagerly listened to Krishna talk in that way, they were surprised. Then Krishna began to instruct them. My dear friends, you must know that it is now the dead of night, and the forest is very dangerous. All this time, all the ferocious jungle animals, the tigers, bears, jackals, and wolves, are prowling in the forest. Therefore, it is very dangerous for you. You cannot select a secure place now. Everywhere you go, you will find that all these animals are loitering to find their prey. I think, therefore, that you are taking a great risk in coming here in the dead of the night. Please turn back immediately without delay.
So he is treating them like ordinary society women. And now he's saying, please turn back immediately. This jungle is very, very dangerous. It is full of wild animals. Let's continue.
When he saw that they continued to smile, he said, I very much appreciate your bodily features. All of you have nice, very thin waists. All of the gopis there were exquisitely beautiful. They are described by the word sumadhyama.
Sumadhyama.
Sumadhyama. Sumadhyama. The standard of beauty of a woman is said to be Sumadhyama when the middle portion of the body is slender. Krishna wanted to impress them Krishna wanted to impress on them that they were not old enough to take care of themselves. Actually, they required protection. It was not very wise of them to come in the dead of the night to Krishna. Krishna also indicated that he was young and that they were young girls. He was young and that they were young girls. It does not look very well for young girls and boys to remain together in the dead of night. After hearing this advice, the gopis did not seem very happy. Therefore, Krishna began to stress the point in a different way.
Let's continue.
My dear friends, I can understand that you have left your homes without the permission of your guardians. Therefore, I think your mothers, your fathers, your elder brothers, and even your sons, and what to speak of your husbands, must be very anxious to find you. As long as you're here, they must be searching in different places, and their minds must be very agitated. So don't tarry. Please go back and make them peaceful.
So one may ask, why is Krishna speaking like this to these gopis, to his pure devotees? It's Sharad Purnima. It's very pleasant. The place is Vrindavan forest. He only played the flute. He has only called them, and now he's telling them to go back. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains in his commentary that Krishna speaks such harsh words, one, because he wants to show the world the purity of the gopis' love. He wants to show that even when he speaks harshly, even then the gopis' affection for Krishna that does not reduce even a little bit, even by a slight bit. The affection for the gopis does not reduce, no matter how harsh Krishna behaves or how harsh Krishna is going to talk. So that is one reason. Another reason, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains, is that because of shyness, the girls normally do not act the way they feel. They do not speak, they do not reveal what is going on in their mind. They do not speak words of intimacy very openly because of shyness. No, so they hold themselves back. And Krishna, he wanted them to speak their words of eagerness. He wanted them to speak the words that they were holding back. He wanted them to speak those intimate words. No, he wants to hear it from them. Therefore, Krishna, he speaks these harsh words to the gopis. Let's continue.
When the gopis appeared to be a little bit disturbed and angry from hearing the free advice of Krishna, they diverted their attention to looking at the beauty of the forest. At that time, the whole forest was illuminated by the bright shining of the moon, and the air was blowing very silently over the blooming flowers, and the green leaves of the trees were moving in the breeze. Krishna took the opportunity of their looking at the forest to advise them. I think you have come out here to see the beautiful Vrindavan forest on this night, he said, but you must now be satisfied. So return to your homes without delay. I understand that you are all very chaste women, and now that you have seen the beautiful atmosphere of the Vrindavan forest, please return home and engage in the faithful service of your respective husbands.
Let's continue.
Some of you must have babies by this time, although you are very young. You must have left your small babies at home and they must be crying. Please immediately go back home and just feed them with your breast milk. I can also understand that you have a very great affection for me, and out of that transcendental affection, you have come here, hearing my playing on the flute. Your feelings of love and affection for me are very appropriate because I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All living creatures are my parts and parcels, and naturally they are very affectionate. They are affectionate to me. So this affection for me is very welcome, and I congratulate you for this. Now you can go back to your homes. Another thing I must explain to you is that for a chaste woman, service to your husband without duplicity is the best religious principle. Not only should a woman be faithful and chaste to her husband, but she should also be affectionate to the friends of her husband, obedient to the father and the mother and her husband, and affectionate to the younger brothers of her husband. And most importantly, a woman must take care of her children.
So say Shastra has prescribed duties assigned to every living entity. No, every man has his prescribed duties. Every woman has her prescribed duties. The children have their prescribed duties. Everybody has prescribed duties. There's no such entity who has no prescribed duties. So here Krishna is stressing on what are the prescribed duties of a woman. What are the prescribed duties of a woman? So service to husband without duplicity is the best religious principle, Krishna is saying. Okay, let's continue.
In this way, Krishna explained the duty of a woman. He also stressed the point of serving the husband. Even if he is not of very good character, or even if he is not very rich or fortunate, or even if he is old or invalid on account of continued diseases, whatever her husband's condition, a woman should not divorce her husband if she actually desires to be elevated to the higher planetary systems after leaving this body. Besides that, it is considered abominable in society if a woman is unfaithful and goes searching for another man. Such habits will deter a woman from being elevated to the heavenly planets, and the results of such habits are very degrading. A married woman should not search for a paramour, for this is not sanctioned by the Vedic principles of life. If you think that you are very much attached to me and you want my association, I advise you not to personally try to enjoy me. It is better for you to go home, simply talk about me and think of me, and by this process of constantly remembering me and chanting my names, you will surely be elevated to the spiritual platform. There is no need to stand near me. Please go back home.
So see, the role of a woman in society is so important, no? And this is the reason why whatever the husband does, whatever austerity the husband does, half of it goes to the wife by default. Just because she is faithfully serving the husband, she gets half his merit by default. No, because if the wife can provide that peace and that atmosphere for the husband so that the husband can do his sadhana without any hindrance, without any uh, what do you call it, without any klesha, without any mental disturbances, then the woman is actually playing a crucial role in the family for the husband and for the children and for all members of the family to be able to follow their sadhana. And this is the reason why the woman gets half the credit by default, just like that. So the role of a woman is very, very important. Even Bhagavad Gita, one of the reasons Arjuna did not want to fight that war was, he said that there will be lot of Varna Shankara. Varna Shankara means unwanted population. What is unwanted population? He said the women will become unchaste, and therefore there will be a lot of children who will be born out of religious principles. because all the men will die on the battlefield, the husbands will all die, the elders will all die. So therefore, then the women will become corrupted because they will be without any protection, and then that will lead to complete corruption of the society. So that was one of Arjuna's concerns, to not fight the war. So therefore, role of a woman is very, very crucial for the spiritual well-being of the family members. Okay, let's continue.
The instruction given herein by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to the Gopis was not at all sarcastic. Such instructions should be taken very seriously by all honest women. The chastity of women is specifically stressed herein by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, this principle should be followed by any serious woman who wants to be elevated to a higher status of life. Krishna is the center of all affection for all living creatures. When this affection is developed for Krishna, one surpasses and transcends all Vedic injunctions. This was possible for the Gopis because they saw Krishna face to face. This is not possible for any woman in the conditioned state. Unfortunately, sometimes a rascal following the philosophy of monism or oneness very irresponsibly takes advantage of this Rasa Leela to imitate the behavior of Krishna with the Gopis, entice many innocent women, and mislead them in the name of spiritual realization. As a warning, Lord Krishna has herein hinted that what was possible for the Gopis is not possible for ordinary women. Although a woman can actually be elevated by advanced Krishna consciousness, she should not be enticed by an impostor who says that he is Krishna. She should concentrate her devotional activities in chanting about Krishna and meditating upon him, as is advised herein. One should not follow the men called sahajiyas and so-called devotees who take everything very lightly.
So chastity of a woman is a very, very important quality. If a woman is chaste, then that can be the greatest force for a woman. No, chastity is a very, very important quality for a woman. And when the woman is very, very chaste, even the husband benefits from it. There have been instances from our shastras where the husbands, for example, Tulsi Maharani, in her previous life, she was married to a demon. And the gods were not able to kill the demon because his wife was a very, very chaste woman. They had to break the chastity of Tulsi Devi in her previous lifetime in order to be able to kill the husband. So chastity in a woman is a very, very powerful quality to have. Let's continue.
When Krishna spoke in such a discouraging way to the Gopis, they became very sad, for they thought that their desire to enjoy the Rasa dance with Krishna would be frustrated. Thus, they became full of anxiety. Out of the great sadness, the Gopis began to breathe very heavily. Instead of looking at Krishna face to face, they bowed their heads and looked at the ground. And they began to draw various types of curved lines on the ground with their toes. They were shedding heavy tears, and their cosmetic decorations were being washed from their faces. The water from their eyes mixed with the kumkuma on their breasts and fell to the ground. They could not say anything to Krishna, but simply stood there silently. But their silence, they expressed, by their silence, they expressed that their hearts were grievously wounded.
Let's continue.
The Gopis were not ordinary women. In a sense, they were on an equal level with Krishna. They are his eternal associates. As it is confirmed with the Brahma Samhita, they are expansions of his pleasure potency of Krishna, and as his potency, they are not different from him. Although they were depressed by the words of Krishna, they did not like to use harsh words against him. Yet they wanted to rebuke Krishna for his unkind words, and therefore they began to speak in faltering voices. They did not like to use hard words against Krishna because he was their dearmost, their heart and soul. The Gopis had only Krishna within their hearts. They were completely surrendered and dedicated souls. Naturally, when they heard such unkind words, they tried to reply, but in their attempts, torrents of tears fell from their eyes. Finally, they managed to speak.
Let's continue.
Krishna, they said, you're very cruel. You should not talk like that. We are full-fledged, surrendered souls. Please accept us and don't talk in that cruel way. Of course, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and you can do whatever you like. But it is not worthy of your position to treat us in such a cruel way. We have come to you leaving everything behind just to take shelter of your lotus feet. We know that you are completely independent and you can do whatever you like. But we request you, don't reject us. We are your devotees. You should accept us as Lord Narayan accepts his devotees. There are many devotees of Lord Narayan who worship him for salvation, and he awards them salvation. Similarly, how can you reject us when you have no shelter other than your lotus feet?
So these gopis are in no mood to go back to their homes. Let's continue.
Oh dear Krishna, they continued, you are the supreme instructor. There is no doubt about it. Your instructions to women to be faithful to their husband and merciful to their children, to take care of household affairs, and to be obedient to the elderly members of the family are surely just according to the tenets of Shastra. But we know that one may perfectly observe all these instructions of the Shastra by keeping oneself under the protection of your lotus feet. Our husbands, friends, family members, and children are all dear and pleasing to us only because of your presence. And for you are the super soul and all living creatures. Without your presence, one is worthless. When you leave the body immediately dies. And according to the injunctions of the Shastras, a dead body must immediately be thrown into a river or burned. Therefore, ultimately, you are the dearmost personality in this world. By placing our faith and love in your personality, we are assured of never being bereft of husband, friends, sons, or daughters. If a woman accepts you as a supreme husband, then she will never be bereft of a husband, as in the bodily concept of life. If we accept you as our ultimate husband, then there is no question of being separated, divorced, or widowed. You are the eternal husband, eternal son, eternal friend, and eternal master. And one who enters into a relationship with you is eternally happy. Since you are the teacher of all religious principles, your lotus feet have to be worshipped first. According to the Shastras state, Accordingly, the Shastras state, Acharya Upasana, the worship of your lotus feet is the first principle. Besides that, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, you are the only enjoyer, you are the only proprietor, and you are the only friend. As such, we have come to you, leaving aside all so-called friends, society, and love. And now you have become our enjoyer. Let us be everlastingly enjoyed by you. But be our proprietor, for that is your natural claim, and be our supreme friend, and for you are naturally so. Let us thus embrace you as a supreme beloved.
So we can see how actually the gopis are very highly educated. They know the supreme spiritual knowledge to perfection. It's not that they are uneducated. They may be simple cowherd girls, but they are very, very knowledgeable. Let's continue.
Then the gopis told lotus-eyed Krishna, please do not discourage our long-cherished desires to have you as our husband. Any intelligent man who cares for his own self-interest reposes all his loving spirit in you. Persons who are simply misled by the external energy, who want to be satisfied by false concepts, try to enjoy themselves apart from you. The so-called husband, friend, son, daughter, father, and mother are all simply sources of material misery. No one is made happy in this material world by having a so-called father, mother, husband, son, daughter, and friend. Although the father and the mother are expected to protect their children, there are many children who are suffering for want of food and shelter. There are many good physicians, but when a patient dies, no physician can revive him. There are many means of protection, but when one is doomed, none of their protective measures can help. And without their protection, the so-called resources of protection simply become sources of continued distress. We therefore appeal to you, dear Lord of all lords, please do not kill our long-cherished desires to have you as a supreme husband.
So they know very well that nothing can make one happy in the material world. Father, mother, husband, son, daughter, friend, nobody. Just like that mango tree example, no? In this material world, we cannot get happiness from the shadow, from the perverted reflection. The real thing is in the spiritual world. The real thing is with Krishna. And the gopis know that very well. Let's continue.
Dear Krishna, as women, we are certainly satisfied when our hearts are engaged in the activities of family affairs, but our hearts have already been stolen by you. We can no longer engage them in family affairs. Besides that, although you have repeatedly asked us to return home, and that is very appropriate instruction, unfortunately, we have been stunned here. Our legs have no power to move a step from your lotus feet. Therefore, if even at your request we return home, what shall we do there? We have lost all our ability to act without you. Instead of engaging our hearts in family affairs as women, we have now developed a different type of lust, which is continually blazing in our hearts. Now we request you, dear Krishna, to extinguish that fire with your beautiful smile and that transcendental vibration emanating from your lips. If you do not agree to do us this favor, we shall certainly be burned in the fire of separation. In that condition, we shall simply think of you and your beautiful features and give up our bodies immediately. In that way, we think it will be possible for us to reside at our lotus feet in your next life.
Continue.
Dear Krishna, if you say that that if we go home, our respective husbands will satisfy the lusty flame of our desires, we can only say that it is no longer possible. You have given us a chance to be enjoyed by you in the forest and have touched our breasts once in the past, which will be accepted as a blessing, as do the goddesses of fortune who are enjoyed in the Vaikuntha lokas by you. Since we have tasted this transcendental enjoyment, we are no longer interested in going to anyone but you for satisfaction of our lust. Dear Krishna, the lotus feet of the goddess of fortune are always worshipped by the demigods, although she is always resting on your chest in the Vaikuntha planets. She underwent great austerity and penance to have some shelter of your lotus feet, which are always covered by tulsi leaves. Your lotus feet are the proper shelter of your servitors, and the goddess of fortune, instead of abiding on your chest, comes down and worships your lotus feet. We have now placed ourselves under the dust of your feet. Please do not reject us, for we are fully surrendered souls.
So we know Lakshmi Devi, actually her place of residence is in the heart of Narayan, but she willingly comes and she renders service to the lotus feet of her husband. And we will see later how Lakshmi Devi also wanted to participate in the Rasa dance. And although she has done so much austerity, so much tapasya, she is not allowed to participate in the Rasa dance because the Gopis are far more qualified than even the goddess of fortune. Let's continue.
Dear Krishna, you are known as Hari. You destroy all the miseries of all living entities, specifically of those who have left their homes and family attachment and have completely taken to you. We have left our homes with the hope that we shall completely devote and dedicate our lives to your service. We are simply begging to be engaged as your servants. We should not speak, we do not wish to ask you to accept us as your wives. Simply accept us as your maidservants. Since you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and like to enjoy the Parakya Rasa and are famous as a transcendental woman hunter, we have come to satisfy your transcendental desires. We are also after our own satisfaction, for simply by looking at your smiling face, we have become very lusty. We have come before you decorated with all ornaments and dress. But until you embrace us, all our garments and beautiful features remain incomplete. You are the supreme person, and if you complete our dressing attempt as a Purusha Bhushana or the male ornament, then all our desires and bodily decorations are complete.
Let's continue.
Dear Krishna, we have simply been captivated by seeing you with tilaka and with earrings, and by seeing your beautiful face covered with scattered hair and bearing your extraordinary smile. Not only that, but we are also attracted by your arms, which always give assurance to the surrendered souls. And although we are also attracted by your chest, which is simply embraced by the goddess of fortune, we do not wish to take her position. We shall simply be satisfied by being your maidservants. If you accuse us, however, of encouraging prostitution, then we can only ask, where is that woman within these three worlds who is not captivated by your beauty and the rhythmic songs vibrated by your transcendental flute? Within these three worlds, there is no distinction between men and women in relation to you, because both men and women belong to the marginal potency or prakriti. No one is actually the enjoyer or the male. Everyone is meant to be enjoyed by you. There is no woman within these three worlds who cannot but deviate from her path of chastity once she is attracted to you, because your beauty is so sublime that not only men and women, but also cows, birds, beasts, and even fruits, trees, fruits, and flowers, everyone and everything become enchanted. And what to speak of ourselves? It is, however, definitely decided that as Lord Vishnu, is always protecting the demigods from the onslaught of demons. So you have also advented in Vrindavan just to give the residents protection from all kinds of distress. O dear friend of the distress, kindly place your hand on our burning breasts as well as on our heads, because we have surrendered unto you as your eternal maidservants. If you think, however, that your lotus-like palms might be burned to ashes if placed on a burning breast, let us assure you that your palms will feel pleasure instead of pain, as the lotus flower, although very delicate and soft, enjoys the scorching heat of the sun.
So there is no such woman existing in the whole of creation who can maintain her chastity after hearing the sound of Krishna's transcendental flute vibration. And this is what the gopis are also saying here. There is no woman within these three worlds who cannot but deviate from her path of chastity once she is attracted to you. So the gopis are actually very highly chaste women. They are very, 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 very chaste. But Krishna's flute has that potency to attract even the most chaste woman. In fact, even Lord Shiva was completely bewildered when Krishna took the form of Mohini. No, he was completely bewildered. So only Krishna can do that to Lord Shiva. Only Krishna can do that to these gopis. That's the power and potency of Lord Krishna. Let's continue.
Upon hearing the anxious pleas of the gopis, the Supreme Personality of Godhead smiled, and being very kind to the gopis, the Lord, although self-sufficient, began to embrace them and kiss them as they desired. When Krishna smilingly looked at the faces of the gopis, the beauty of their faces became 100 times enhanced. When he was enjoying them in their midst, he appeared just like the full moon surrounded by millions of shining stars. Thus, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, surrounded by hundreds of gopis and decorated with a flower garland of many colors, began to wander within the Vrindavan forest, sometimes singing to himself and sometimes singing with the gopis. In this way, the Lord and the gopis reached the cool, sandy bank of the Yamuna, where there were lilies and lotus flowers. In such a transcendental atmosphere, the gopis and Krishna began to enjoy one another. While they were walking on the banks of Yamuna, Krishna would sometimes put his arms around a gopi's head, breast, or waist, pinching one another and joking and looking at one another they enjoyed. When Krishna touched the bodies of the gopis, their lust to embrace him increased. They all enjoyed their pastimes. Thus, the gopis were blessed with all mercy by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for they enjoyed his company without a tinge of mundane sex life.
So they enjoyed without a tinge of mundane sex life. It is not the cheap thrill that one can associate with the ordinary affairs of boys and girls. So one must always remember this. Otherwise, one will be committing offenses. So one has to be very, very careful. So finally, now the Rasa Leela has started. Let's continue. Last paragraph.
The gopis, however, soon began to feel very proud, thinking themselves to be the most fortunate women in the universe due to being favored by the company of Krishna. Lord Krishna, who is also known as Keshava, could immediately understand their pride caused by their great fortune of enjoying him personally, and in order to show them his causeless mercy and to curb their false pride, he immediately disappeared from the scene, exhibiting his opulence of renunciation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is always full with 6 kinds of opulences, and this is an instance of the opulence of renunciation. This renunciation confirms Krishna's total non-attachment. He is always self-sufficient and is not dependent on anything. This is the platform on which his transcendental pastimes are enacted. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 29th chapter of Krishna, the Rasa Dance introduction.
So now the gopis have become proud. They are thinking that, oh, I'm the most fortunate woman because I'm getting personal attention. I'm able to get the close association of Krishna. So like that, they are becoming proud. And Krishna does not like to see pride in his devotees. So therefore, he disappears from the scene. No, he has left. And now what happens in the next chapter, how the gopis are hankering, where has Krishna gone, with whom has Krishna gone, why he went exactly. We will see all these details in the next class, if Krishna so sanctions. On that note, by the mercy of Sri Guru and Sri Krishna, we come to the end of today's class. Srila Prabhupada ki